Brittany.
Hi.
Welcome to Revitalize Womanhood, the podcast episode. I know, isn't this funny?
Yeah.
We are very close.
Very
We're fitting in a
intimate.
screen. We're very close. So I am just going to jump right in because I do this all the time. Like I get recording or I get talking to my guests and then I'm like, we should have just been recording this whole time. I thought that while we were talking, I thought I should just set this up and just get it recording. But I am in Cinque Terre, Italy, and we met 5 years ago in 2017. We met in 2017 when Rick and the boys and I were here, our first visit, and of course, like her shop here, I'm like, oh, I need to go in there, and so I did, and I loved it, and we've just kept in touch since through pandemic, through all of the things, and here we are, and I wanted to talk about, talking about what it takes for women to get out of their comfort zone and just do something bigger. Like it's hard to say bigger because having a family is huge. Having children is the biggest thing ever, you know, it's everything. But like we were talking about in society, in life, the world, as we are finally getting to a place where we can talk about thinking of ourselves is not a selfish thing. Thinking of ourselves, putting ourselves first, putting our dreams first is actually something that will benefit our children and will benefit our husbands, will benefit all the people we know because we're becoming our truest self, like our God-given gifts and talents. We're born with these things to share, and if we're not sharing them, then we become like this stifled version of ourselves that just wants to break free, right? So, oh my gosh, Brittany, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, I'm Brittany. As you know, I am originally from Texas, and I moved to Renata Cinque Terre about 13 years ago. And I opened my business almost 10 years. Next year will be 10 years. Can you believe it?
Happy 10 years.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
I can't believe it, actually. It's been that long. Time has just flown by, but it's been a great adventure.
What part of Texas? Dallas?
Outside of Dallas originally, a little small town. Funny enough, the town is called Italy, Texas, although we moved there when I was much later in life. But born and raised around Maypearl and Waxahachie, and then whenever my parents moved to Italy, every time I went to the customs office, they're like, Italy, what? You're going from Italy, the country, to Italy, Texas? They didn't even believe me for a bit. It was hilarious.
That is so funny.
It was a sign. Absolutely.
So, okay, what got you to Italy in the first place?
Well, that's certainly a story. I was traveling here, I guess it was 15 years ago, with my sister, my lovely sister, and we had come to this town because her friend had said, you've got to go to La Cinque Terre, the most beautiful hiking you can possibly do. It's dreamy, these little villages. I didn't understand, nor did she understand. This is like pre-iPhones. It's like maybe you could have a BlackBerry, but even then it was like the little tiny phones.
BlackBerry.
Yeah, but I didn't think they had that. They had like
it wasn't
Sony
the
phone.
like posting that everybody does now. It's like you see it on Instagram and it's like, well, I have to go there.
Yeah, it didn't exist. So I had no idea what I was getting into. In fact, I don't even know if we had a travel book. Maybe we had like a little travel book to like look up restaurants, but I had no idea where we were going really. And we were on the train, La Spezia, like everyone does. They get on the train to come here, and the window, remember the views that pop through the window as you go through the train tunnels?
I have never been on the train, but I've been on the road, so I know the same view.
And one of my favorite things on the train is that people will be leaving La Spezia, which is a city, and you go through the first tunnel, and you're almost arriving to the first little town of the Cinque Terre Maggiore, and just this beautiful scenery comes at you. You're like on the seaside, and people just go,
you hear everyone.
And it still happens every day when I take the train, and I love that because it reminds me of that time. My sister and I did the same thing. We're just like, oh my gosh, where have we come? Like, we had no idea. Anyway, so we arrive in this little village, get off the train.
And La Spezia, too, is like a port town. So it is like industrial, port, city. So to come through that, it would feel like you were walking through the wardrobe, like Lion Witch in the wardrobe, and all of a sudden you're in a completely different world.
That's exactly how it felt. And we'd just been in Rome for 8 days. I had actually been studying abroad in Poland, and then we came down and we did Rome for 8 days, which was incredible. I love history, anthropology, so for me that's a beautiful place to spend time. But it's intense. You're in Rome, you're seeing all the sights, you're running around, and then we just got on the train up, took forever. I remember everything was delayed, and we had these obviously way too big of bags, you know, as you do when you're traveling, and then you learn later not to do that. And we had books from school anyways, and we're rushing to get on this train, and then you just see this view, and you're just like, everything just relaxes and calms, and Yeah, and we ended up spending the most magical 4 days here, just kind of bonding and healing. My sister had been going through some personal stuff as well, so we just had this incredible time together as
Yeah.
sisters, and um, it was really special because I think she's older than me, so it was like kind of the first time we'd had this kind of adult bonding, traveling together as
Right.
adult women. It was really special, and it just kind of, I don't know, just created this new bond within us, and we've just grown from there as sisters, and I love that. So I love that my first time here was with her, and she's come back so many times since.
So
Super special.
what was it that made you decide I'm moving back there? How did you end up here to start a shop to live
Oh, well,
and
yeah.
be adult Brittany?
Yes, very good questions. Well, basically, those 4 days I had met someone, and we kept in touch, and you get lost in the dream of it all. But I moved back to the U.S. I had plans to go and live for a bit in California with my sister. She's out in California, and then we just kind of kept in touch, and eventually, after about almost 2 years of back and forth with this man. Um, I was coming here and spending 3 months, which is the max you can have without a
Right.
visa. He was coming there on his holidays and his vacation time, and it was just going back and forth for some time. And eventually, basically, I thought this is worth it. I want to do this. You're in love, and also this place was just for me something so
Calling to you.
special and calling to me. And I was like, I need to see where this goes. I need to see what this world's about.
Right.
And that's it. I leapt. I went for it. I remember it was a time as well where, I just gotten out of college, out of university, and the job opportunities just weren't there. The economy was suffering, and I was
Right.
I felt very blocked within the world I was in. Like nothing was working out. I was applying for a million jobs, going on interviews. It wasn't working.
What was
And I
your
was like,
degree?
anthropology and history.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
what jobs would you be looking at? Like at a museum or like
Well, a museum, I would have loved to work in a museum, but you
Right.
have to have a next level. Like you have to have usually at least a master's and most likely a PhD. So
Yeah.
I had looked at a few job opportunities in a museum. I think I was just at that point applying for anything. Honestly, I don't remember everything I was applying for.
Yeah.
Just absolutely anything. Because I started with the idea of like maybe a museum or some sort of organization that's like preservation or something like that. Originally, I thought I'd be a lawyer, actually. I was in school thinking I might go to law school and be a lawyer. And then I was burnt out and I needed a break. And so that's kind of where that kind of alters. I was like, let me get a job, take a break. And then it wasn't working. And I still didn't feel like I wanted to go back to school yet. I'd really plowed through school, accomplished a lot
Right.
with, honors and all that very quickly. And looking back, that's the only thing I would have done different. I would have taken my time a bit more. I was so excited to grow up and like
We
go
all-
and see
I
the
think
world
everyone
and
is.
travel and and then you look back and think I should have taken my time in college because I graduated in 3 years from university.
That is so funny you say that
crazy.
because I don't have like regrets, right? I mean, I have things. Obviously, I love where I am and everything has led me to this point. But yeah, if I look back and I thought one regret I do have is that I didn't do the university.
Okay.
I went to a state college it's now a university, but still, even it as a university now is not a university like what I would have loved to ride the train to my class or had an apartment, a crappy apartment with some girls from school or, right? I wanted that
bonding,
experience,
yeah,
that
experience.
experience. Instead, I took the easy, safe, went just down to the state college, down local. It was 4 hours from us. So Dixie State College, 4 hours drive from Salt Lake City, St. George's party school, like very small community. And so that's my biggest regret
Really?
is that I didn't do that. And I was scared to, honestly. I don't think I had the, I talk about this a lot in my community is we don't have the example set for us. So some people have, say, a mother that was ahead of her time and went into the workforce. And so she's setting this example for her daughters, right? But I had a mother who I love her dearly and she did nothing wrong, but to her, her example was set as a farmer's wife. So as a farmer's wife and they had no money and they made all their own clothes, they grew all their own food, I mean, butchered all their own meat. Incredible.
Wow.
So for her to take us to the big city, which was not, it was a rural area.
But still, big city.
Yeah, it was a suburb of Salt Lake City. And so then I was raised on all garden food, homemade bread. She made our dresses for our dances, right? And 8 kids and 1 income. So this is what was modeled for her. This was normal for her. And she was getting bigger, thinking bigger. But for us, her daughters, it was like, I actually think it's interesting that my one sister became a nurse, and she said it was just because I was like, well, what else am I going to do? That seems like a good idea, and that's great. So, and the rest of us went to school, but now my sister, who is divorced and 5 kids later, went back and finished her nursing degree, but it wasn't something that was an example for us. It was always be a wife, be a mother,
Right.
which I love, and that was my dream as well, but it was never, you can do anything. You could be a doctor. You could be a lawyer. And not that I'm saying my mom said I couldn't do those things. She was just busy being a mom and raising 8 kids to focus in and say, do this or go ahead and try for this.
She probably barely had the time. And
right.
then, like you said, you only know what you've learned and grown up in.
Exactly.
And so it's hard to even say to your child, like, go be this or go be that. If they
because
they don't even know. Yeah. They're just showing you what they know and doing the best, like you said. And
exactly.
But you know what you say about not feeling like you could go off to university, you were scared. I think it's okay, because in that moment in life, that was what you were supposed to do. Like, you were supposed to go to college, and I'm sure from there you met people, opportunities came, and that's what's led you on the life you're on.
It's so funny because the way that Rick, my husband, and I, the way that we met was like this. It was weird. We kept crossing each other. He dated one of my roommates in college.
Oh my gosh.
My boyfriend, ex-husband, whatever, my boyfriend at the time, was roommates in Las Vegas with his cousin. So like, it was super weird. It was really weird how it was connected. But anyway, yes. And that's absolutely, it led me to this. And so you can't regret it, but I missed that experience.
Sure. Well, I understand. Like I said, I wish I had taken more time to go out and I guess go to that party, although I wasn't a super party girl, but just meet more people or join those groups or join the little organization that you can do in university. I was very focused, wanted that degree. I wanted to get through it and find that great career and that big life that I wanted. But what you just said is true. Like, anyways, it worked out because that university course path that I was on, it's what took me to Poland to study abroad for 4 or 6 weeks. I can't remember now. I think 6 weeks. Anyways, and took me there, that then ultimately led me to come to Italy from that trip, that ultimately ended up me up in this town. And then that's all, it all plays on that. So if I had done it different, taken my time, or,
where would you
focus
be?
as much, where would I be? And then sometimes I'm even curious about, where would I be? Like, sometimes you wish you could just, like, have a glimpse of, like, where would you be?
It's like, what is it, Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow, where she takes the train and she doesn't take the train, and you can see her life, which way it goes, either way.
Exactly.
I love it.
But it's all worked out beautifully, just as it has for you, But you look back and you do think certain things you would do different. And if, you have children, you would maybe say, hey, you do, I don't at this time. But, hey, take your time, don't rush it.
I'm constantly telling Castle, he's 12. He's 12. And he is an old soul, and he just wants to be a grown-up. And I'm like, he always has been, always. And I'm like, dude, slow it down.
Yeah.
Be young, use your imagination, go get dirty, and he's just not. He's an old soul. We were here at the beach yesterday, and I've got my 2 younger ones, the 9-year-old flipping rocks. Like, people are like bathing on the rocks, like beached sea lions. That's kind of how it is here. If you don't know the scene, everybody finds a hot rock and lays on it, or the beach.
You get down there early and get just the right one.
Get the right
I don't want to give it up. Yeah.
And my son is sitting here flipping rocks, looking for crabs and critters, and they're getting splashed, and he's screaming. It's like so hilarious. I'm looking around and I'm like, we are the loud, obnoxious Americans. Everybody's trying to enjoy this peaceful, and my 2-year-old's running around like a crazy. But then my 12-year-old, he's already been in, didn't like it, went and rinsed off, showered, so he's not salty, and he's standing there watching all the rest of us just have this
taking
beach
it
day.
in, absorbing it all.
And I'm like, dude, and so his dad hands him money to go get us gelato or whatever, and he's happy as a clam. Like, he just thinks that that's the best thing. It's so interesting. He's not a kid.
No,
he's
he's an old soul.
Yeah.
I think I must have been something similar, because when my dad, I remember this really particular moment when we moved out to Maypearl from Arlington, from the city. They had land out there. We're driving across this little old bridge from this little town, and we were listening to, like, country music together, which we like to do. And he's like, honey, don't grow up too fast. Because I think I must have been going on about something, and I must have been 10 or 11 years old. But he already saw that in me. And talking about, like, parents that encourage, my parents, incredible parents, and they encouraged all of us to chase what made us happy. I mean, there was certainly that element of be sure, you know, whatever it is has some stability, so you make some
Right.
financial stability, because they were scared of for us not to have that. But my mom really made it clear for her daughters, like, I want you to have every opportunity to be whatever you want to be, and being a woman doesn't change that.
Yeah.
And my dad was right there supporting it. And that, for me, that's probably how I had the confidence, or I don't know, to be brave enough to even try it. I mean, part of it was probably just being young and like going for it.
Yeah.
That's just my personality.
But you had a cheering
But
section.
I had people supportive of that, and they were always encouraging of me and my sister, and to go out and find what makes us happy. And it's funny because both my sister and I, we've ended up in these gorgeous touristy towns. She's in South Lake Tahoe and I'm here, and we both live these lives that we love, you know. And even from a young age, like, I was so obsessed with like travel and other places in the world, and mom and dad didn't understand why. We'd never left the US.
Right.
We'd always like driven
and
where
history.
we went.
You were
Yeah,
obsessed
I was
with
obsessed with history. I loved like the classics, you know, the Romans, the Greeks, the Egyptians, and they just would buy me books and like encouraging that, like, whatever you want to do with it, do it, you know.
Yeah.
And my dad loved history, so we always had talks about it. And mom was like, I'm not interested in history, but I love that you love it. So she was encouraging.
Right.
She's very artistic, which is where I actually got that side. So I got the best of both, you know, a bit of history, a bit of artisticness in me, but they just encouraged whatever it was. And I remember them saying to me, like, we were always like, why were you so obsessed with these places you've never even been or seen? Like,
Right.
maybe you saw them on the TV. And so I do think already as a young age, there was a calling for me.
It was in you.
To come here, to be in Italy. I used to talk about Italy, and they didn't even know why. But yeah, I wanted to be here, but certainly I had the people behind me cheering me on to choose whatever path that was right for me. So I know that's a big help.
It is a big help. And so that's why I think you may have answered it with this next question is coming over. You had this man to support you. You had your family cheering you on. So you felt like you had a system. But there came a point in your life where that system fell apart and you had to make a decision to really think about what it was Brittany wanted.
Absolutely.
What it was, not coming here to a place where your husband was from, that his family was from, because of course that just happened to be this beautiful place. But what was it at that moment? Where were you? How were you feeling at that time to say, I have to start making decisions for myself? What did that feel like?
At first, it felt extremely daunting, terrifying. It was, you know, this mix of this great loss, because I was devastated by the end of my marriage, and it was a complete shock as well to me. So I felt very emotional. I felt completely lost. I felt I didn't even know what to do with myself. And then part of me even felt like shame for feeling that, because I realized that I had a lot. My life was so connected with this man and this place. I became this codependent person, and I didn't even realize it was happening. And I think looking back now that I've had time to go through it all and kind of do the therapy within myself and read the books that helped me process, it's because for me, I moved to a place I knew nothing. I knew nothing about the language, about the culture. I just dove in. And so I became very dependent on someone who did know it.
Right.
And from that, I found my outlets that were mine. But I don't think when I went through my divorce, I understood that. Like, I'd already had my business, this beautiful shop, this boutique. I even had vacation rentals. But I don't think at that time I understood that I created those on my own. Like, they are mine.
Right.
Like, this business, this boutique is mine. You know, vacation rentals were a shared business, but still I was a co-owner in that and created this beautiful business. And I don't think I understood in that moment that I can do that no matter what. I've done that. I can continue to do that. So in that moment, I just felt like I had to go home, actually, and process and regroup and figure out what I needed, because I was so traumatized by this abrupt change in my life in the middle of a summer season when it's crazy, chaotic, busy. I got through the season. I finished working in the boutique. I went home in the winter to be with my family to really decide, is this life I've created there me, or is it something I've done to be with this person?
Right.
Is it a bit of both? Can I find myself? Can I live in this small town? Because this is a very small town.
Yes.
With my ex, after what was done to me and the behavior, can I do it? Do I want to do that? Do I want something else? Like, I went through, I mean, like a year and a half worth of And I'm sure everyone does. If you go through any trauma in life, you just process and think about every option. And I'm grateful that I had the time in that moment.
So was this
to do that.
2019?
It was 2019.
So this was it's the same time we all went home from being away. And so we were talking about how COVID for us actually ended up, obviously the pandemic itself and what happened was terrible. But for us, it came at a point in our lives where we needed to be forced to slow down. Because otherwise, do you think you would have been able to give yourself the time that you needed for that therapy?
Absolutely not. I don't think I would have, I would not be the person I am now. I don't know if I would have been able to stay here like I have now, because I was in such a bad state, mentally just distraught, that if I had not had that time home with my family, rooted in the earth, because you had to stay home, and my parents, they live in the countryside, and so we just were working in the garden, reading books, sitting in the hammock. I sat every morning, had coffee with my dad, and we just talked, and he's great at talking and listening, and then, you know, mom and I were making clothes. Like, she's very artistic. Her whole career is corporate America, but her love is being artistic, and that's where I learned it from her and my grandma, actually. And we were making clothes together. Like, she was like, I have these like Vogue patterns. Let's like pick some fabric out of my cabinet and make clothes. So it became a very like beautiful, innocent time of just getting back home to your roots and being with my family. And within those moments with them, I was taking time for myself, and I was being very active, and I was riding bikes again, and I was running again, some things I had lost. Like, I used to hike, of course, but I kind of lost some of those other things I loved doing. And I just got really one with nature. And I remember just there were animals everywhere out in this area they live, and I was just like walking with the animals. It felt a little, I know it sounds a little crazy.
Very Snow White-ish.
Yeah, it was.
You're out singing with the birds.
Yeah, they were like, oh my gosh, are you talking to your forest friends again? Like, all my friends were saying that. But I was like, yes, I feel this need to be with Mother Nature.
They are my friends.
They are my friends. They're the only ones I can talk to besides my parents for 2 months while we're all stuck at home. But
I think we all
started singing to me at one point. Yeah,
forest friends. We actually did. My little boy had a little baby Barbados goat that would or sheep that would follow him around. His name was Pancake, and he would follow him around. Yeah. We were the same way. We were like in nature, just getting back to our roots. Yeah. And I'm hoping you're all hearing these things that she's saying that I have just like tried to drill into my community in the sisterhood of, you have to love yourself. You have to figure out, if you don't already, you may think you do, but if you look in a mirror and you talk down to yourself, or if you criticize yourself, or if you're constantly having these thoughts go through your head of, I'm bad with money, like, those are things that you don't even think are abuse to yourself, but they are. They're abuse. You have to really, if you love yourself, you don't wake up and look in the mirror and go, oh, if I had a different nose.
Oh, if these legs, whatever.
You know, I mean, I get it.
We all do a little bit.
We all do a little bit, but to the point where it's affecting how you live your life.
Yes,
you know?
Exactly.
So this seemed like just a beautifully cathartic point in your life. Like, idyllic. You're explaining this, and I'm like, I want to be where you were. Like, I want to be in that just serene headspace that you were in, because there was probably so much chaos before that. And so you had this, like, I mean, I'm not going to say black and white, this dark and light, because
it kind of was,
but it kind of is. You had this chaos, and what you just explained was like, I want to live in that with you. So then you got to really break down. I mean, what was there certain things that you were like, came back to these questions? These very specific questions for yourself.
Yes, I think the thing that kept coming back to me over and over, the really specific question was, who am I? What do I want? Am I Italian? Am I wanting to stay in Italy? Am I too American? Do I want to be in the U.S.? And I think even my husband made me question that. You know, he used to say to me, oh, you miss the U.S. too much, you know, it's not okay. I'm like, well, I'm allowed. And I did have a therapist who was fabulous, and I did speak with her, and she's like, you're allowed to miss home. Yeah. You lived 5,000 miles from home, but you also clearly love this other home you've created, which was Italy. And it really stuck in me, and I really had to decide, who was I? What did I want? And that's just what kept coming back to me. Do I want to be here? Do I want to be in the U.S.? Do I want to keep my business? Do I want to go back and start a new life? And I was really torn on that subject. Throughout that entire time, I would think about one path and like, okay, this is what it would be like if I did this. And then the other one was like, this would be like if I did this. And, you know, a large part of me being afraid to maybe be here was, unfortunately, there was not a great situation with my ex. And so I was like, can I live in this world with that kind of trauma? And then I wasn't sure, to be honest. So during this time, I was like, I know that I just need to heal myself, in myself, the pain, the suffering, get back to myself, which is why I was so craving nature, I think, because I am a person that loves being in nature. And when I was really in nature with the elements, and then, you know, I was reading a lot of books, a lot of gorgeous, you know, a little bit of meditative, a little bit philosophical books on life and what you should want, and a lot of them written by women who were also in search of what they needed in life, because maybe they weren't feeling satisfaction in their life, and they were not sure why, because they even had everything. They're like, why am I not happy? Well, because they weren't pursuing what made them happy, really. And I was reading a lot of stuff like this, and I was like, okay, I'm recognizing now that I think I was living a lot of my life for someone else. I have my business, which I love, but I was creating a life, like trying to be that woman I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to do all the time, and sacrificing a lot of myself. Like, I was taking control. And in fact, I got into Reiki as well. And I remember going to this wonderful Reiki lady, and she was like, you have a lot of masculine energy in your, and we need to clear that out, because you were obviously trying to be so organized and businesswoman, and you were taking it home and taking care of him and taking care of life, but you weren't able to fall into your femininity, maybe because you didn't trust that you could, because you were afraid to, maybe someone wasn't there to take care of you the way you needed. And now you know that you need that, you need the balance.
You can be that vulnerable.
You can be vulnerable, and it's okay. But I obviously didn't feel that. And funny enough, now I'm in, you know, a new process in life, and I'm feeling that. Like, I really feel like I've stepped into my femininity, and I can be vulnerable when I need to be, even if I'm a businesswoman. And so it's just, I learned a lot about myself, and things I didn't know were in me. The strength that I had, I didn't know. And I think I was forced to face it, because we're all at home, like you said, so you're forced to stick with your thoughts. So I couldn't distract myself, which was good, because sometimes you can distract yourself. I certainly went through a period of distracting myself before COVID. But I recognize, I'm so glad I couldn't distract myself anymore. I had to face the pain, the suffer, go through all the emotions of mourning that you do when it's a loss of a marriage or a lifestyle, and then decide what I wanted. And I knew then, when I came out of it, like after a year and a half, I came back to Italy to kind of, the borders opened back up and I could come back to Italy. Basically, I was kind of blocked there because the borders were closed, but it was a blessing. And I went back to Italy, and I thought, at first I was like, okay, this is strange. It's been a while. I feel like I'm a completely different human. Maybe I've outgrown my life here, because I felt so different. I felt like I had grown into another level of who I am, a level I didn't know was in me.
Right.
And it was,
you expanded.
I expanded so much, and I loved where I ended up being. And it's funny, because looking back, I remember in that moment we were all scared about this virus, what it could do, and I was scared, like, financially, my business was closed for over a year. Like, how's that going to go? And I'm going through a divorce. I remember there were those worries, but at the same time, there was this incredible peace being rooted with family and in nature. And so I was like, okay, after a year and a half, I'm ready to face it. The border's open. And I remember also, like, the littlest things, like timing. Like, I remember, like, trying to go back in the fall of 2020, and then just it not working out. The flights didn't work out, and where I was going to stay here didn't work out. We hadn't quite arranged yet the separation.
There was no ease.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? It's not time. It's not ready. Even if there's a flight, it's not the time. And I was just constantly having signs show me to go this way or do that, even during this period that was very strange. And I was like, I need to listen to them. And I was just following that, listening to that path, listening to the universe, as I say, guiding me down these little bitty roads that were going to take me to the bigger road. And anywho, when I came back, it was the spring of 2021. I was full of anxiety. I was really scared and nervous, and I didn't know what to expect. And I felt a little out of place, because I had expanded to this other level, and I didn't know if I was going to fit in this life anymore. And I get back here, and of course, a lot of anxiety was around me, facing this person that had treated me, you know, pretty awful. And how am I going to deal with that? And I get back, and I was just like, wow, this place is like a home. It is my home.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, again, blocked with my business, because at that time I started thinking, I think I will sell my business. Before I came back, I was like, I think I will sell it and go back home. It's probably going to be the better thing for me. Even though I wasn't convinced, I wasn't sure, but I was thinking maybe it's something I need to do to protect myself from any more pain or trauma that I could face here with the person being nearby. And I got back here, and then that was kind of blocked. Like, I wasn't able to move on with my business. I wasn't able to rent it or sell it from other things I don't really want to get into. But
Right.
I was like, okay, accept that.
More signs.
More signs. I'm not supposed to leave here. I'm
Right.
supposed to stay. And so let's go for it. And so I did. I just started working again and got back into my life and reconnected with the nature here and got into these big, gorgeous, long hikes that I hadn't done in so long. And just going out on adventures with my dog and my friends, and just had all this time with my girlfriends, and just really was just like floating this beautiful feminine energy and just enjoying every moment. And I started recognizing, I was like, you know what? I actually built a life here that wasn't just because of my husband.
Right.
I have friends, I have a business, I have my home, I have my gorgeous dog who's my child, and who I talk about far too much, I'm sure. You're lucky I haven't gone off on a rant about her yet. My precious Luna. But anyways, yeah, it's just, I recognized, you know what, this is my life and I love it. And no place in the world is perfect. Like, I struggled for sure in the first years here because I didn't know the language, and the communication was challenging and the lifestyle was challenging. It's a small town. But I've come to love that. And for me, this place has such a strong pull, but a special place in my heart and in my soul. Because even when I went through my divorce, I didn't know how in a small town, and I'm not originally from here, how that would, go down.
Yeah.
And I had the most incredible support from all ages, all genders. Like, everybody was just like, we got you. And in that moment, I really understood that I was a part of this community. Because before that, I like to think I was. Like, I was I love this place. I hope you love me too.
Right.
But in that moment, I understood people did. And so when I came back and I was just living my life here on my own, I was like, this is mine. Why do I have to give it up? I don't have to give it up. If I don't want to give it up, and the world is saying to me, the universe is guiding me still in this life, I don't have to give up it because some guy changed his mind.
Right.
I can continue. And that's what I did. And so here I am. It's been almost 4 years since my divorce, and I'm loving my life. I don't know where it's going to go, like nobody does, but I love my business. I'm keep trying to expand and grow it. And I, would love one day to have property here. Was something I was trying to do with my ex. You know what? I'm going to do it on my own. I want to keep doing that. And it's a beautiful life, and it's interesting the road that you travel in life. You don't know where you're going to end up. And when I look back at my 21-year-old self that moved here, that's how young I was, to now, and I think, wow, what a road. What an incredible journey. And it's not over. I have so much to do. But I would have never thought back then that I would be here with this business, living independently, essentially, abroad in Italy. But it makes me happy. And I have this great community of girlfriends. We've all done the same. And we understand each other. And I'm lucky because I do get to go home in the winter and see my family. So I always kind of say I live this very lucky life of getting the best of both worlds.
You get your cake and eat it too.
But I did create. I worked very hard to create that. And I don't want anybody to take that away from me again. And it taught me in any future relationship that I'm in, they have to be supportive of the fact that I'm from two worlds. And I've embraced that, because I think before I was struggling with which one should I be. Well, I don't have to be one or the other. I can be both.
You can
I'm
be
American,
everything.
I'm Italian. I love my life here. I love my life there.
Right.
There are things that drive me crazy here. There are things that drive me crazy there.
Right.
But that's why I get to have both. And I've created this environment, this world, this business that I've worked so hard to form into what it is, so that I can enjoy both parts. I can be with my family, and whoever I'm with has to support that. And so I've learned that about myself, that I don't need to be accepting people in my life that disagree with what makes me happy, what is important to me, being here, being there. I need both, and that's okay, because that was something certainly I was maybe criticized for, like wanting to be there, someone wanting to be here. It's okay. I'm allowed
You're
to have
allowed.
what makes me happy, and that's what makes me happy. I love my life here. I love going home to my family, to their little farm, as we call it, and just enjoying that time in nature.
I love that you call it, that struck to you, that you're allowed, because you are. We're all allowed. That's what I'm just trying to drill this message. You're allowed into all of these women that listen to this podcast, that watch me on Instagram, that it's like, you are allowed, but you first have to do the work to decide what it is you want. Yep. You have to see, am I on the path for what that is? How do I need to change to get onto the path? How do I need to bridge the gap between what I'm doing now and what it is that I think right now will make me happy? Because that's even the funnier one, is you may get on the path. I think the goal is not ever the point.
Nope.
The goal is great to have.
Absolutely.
But the journey getting to the goal is going to, twist and turn you and mold you. Like the person you were even a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, didn't have the struggles to be able to be the strong person you are now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You have to go through those things, just like we talked about when we started this. You have to go through those things because that's what got you here.
It's true. And funny enough, like you think sometimes, oh gosh, I wish I'd have to struggle that much. But really, not that it would have been nice if there was more kindness, I have to say, with some of the struggle. But that struggle has created, like we talked about, a stronger person. And I actually prefer who I am now. I like who I am now because I'm true to myself now. Right. I think I know who I am now. I know what I want, what I don't want, what I will accept, what I will not accept. And I'm okay with saying no. Before I think I was more like, okay, let's do that.
Pleasing.
I was
like
pleasing.
What we're all brought up to be. Women are brought up to be pleasing.
Be sweet and pleasing with a smile, and that's who I am. I am a very bubbly, happy person in general, and I always want everyone else to be happy. Right. But unfortunately, doing that, sometimes you can sacrifice your own happiness. You lose sight of what you want. Right. And this experience has made me really connected with myself. And so actually, yes, I prefer who I am now as a person. I feel healthier. Mentally and physically, funny enough. Like I do think there's something about mentally, if you're not where you're supposed to be, even physically, you don't feel well. And I feel just all around healthy and in a good place.
I think, like we talked about, you have these God-given gifts. You have this inside you. You're born with you. Like we talked about, my little boy is born this way. He is this person. You were born this way. You were so interested in these things. That was you. And if you weren't allowed to do those things and have these outlets, like your mom with art, if she wasn't allowed to have an artistic outlet, she would have been stifled. It would have made her unhealthy because she would have, her energy would have been just negative all the time. And you can just almost see that kind of energy just weigh somebody down. And so in a normal situation where you'd want to be light and happy and have carefree, it's so funny. I had this thought the other day, and this is kind of dark. This is a dark thought for me to have because I'm supposed to know it all, right? I'm leading this community, and no, everyone who's on this journey with me knows that this is my journey as well. But I was in the car with my family, and we were driving from, I don't remember if it was from Rome to Tuscany or from Tuscany here, and stopping in Pisa on the way. Anyway, I should have been absolutely ecstatic, right? It should have been just, I'm so excited to get to Cinque Terre. I'm so excited to get to Tuscany. I'm so excited we're here doing this. I love this, right? And I felt myself being very like ornery. Like I could not smile. Like just this moment I had, obviously it's not this whole time. I'm having these moments. I'm like, ah. But this one moment in the car, and I'm listening to Rick be happy and bubbly and singing or joking with the kids, and the kids are doing something. And I sat there and just felt this weight of like, I cannot smile right now. I am so unhappy right now. Why? And I could not figure it out. And you know, you have to tell yourself, mindset, you're doing this to yourself. These are the thoughts you're allowing in. You have to take control. You know, all of the training that we do, the tools that we have. But it was interesting to me that I still have to combat those kinds of things in a perfect, idealized scenario, right? We're living in Europe. We're exploring with our kids. We're happy. We're together as a family. We can do this. We don't have the weights on us, like financial burdens. We don't have, you know what I mean? Like I should, like we talked about, I should not feel this way, but I felt guilty for feeling this way.
Yeah. And you shouldn't feel guilty for feeling this way, but we do because we feel like in those moments that are so idealistic and perfect, why am I sad? Yeah. But we're allowed to be. It was something maybe in the day, in your head, maybe a thought came in that you don't even recognize that came in, that brought you down. But it's okay because like I love what you said. You went inside yourself and thought, what was this? What is this? And even if you didn't figure it out yet, it might come to you later, and then you think, oh, that's what it was. I need to think about that, understand why it's upset me, process it, maybe try to heal it or work on it. I think with all the positivity we put out for ourselves, it's okay still to feel dark moments. It's okay still to feel sad. Like I do, we all do. It's just recognizing, okay, why am I feeling sad? What can I do to recognize it, to accept it, to sit with it, and then release it. And
and move forward so that it doesn't happen again.
It doesn't happen again, yeah.
If I worked through it.
Absolutely.
And this turned into this, the thing under the thing under the thing under the thing, and the very bottom thing was my resentment for men versus women in a family relationship. Like, my husband gets to do anything he wants, whatever he wants all the time, and has no thought about, oh, okay, where is my family? Or, you know what, not like that, but like, I talked about it on my last episode with Katerina. Yeah, they're free. He can go spend the money. He can go put in the time. He can just go do it, and he doesn't have to worry because he knows I have him. Like, I've got the baby, I've got the kids, I've got his back. But for me, it was like some scenarios that I really wanted to have happen in Tuscany. So it would have been after Tuscany, because it was in Tuscany. I wanted some things to happen, and they fell through and they didn't happen. I was very upset by it. It was something that I was very excited about, and it fell through for whatever reason. It's fine. But and it was sitting with me, like it was weighing on me. And I think the thing under the thing under the thing was, he was just like, why? Who cares? Get over it. Yeah. You know, it's not his fault. But the resentment was there that if this would have been his thing,
it would have happened.
He would have been either it would have happened, or he would have figured out another way. He would have spent more money to make it happen because he would have figured out another way. But because it was my thing, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter.
He didn't maybe understand fully
and
how important it was.
And how can he if I don't communicate it?
Sure.
So that's what I mean. It's not his fault. I'm not blaming him. I'm blaming myself. And it takes you back to those situations where you are codependent. Absolutely. And instead of saying, here I am, world, this is me, you kind of hide it and instead be pleasing. Absolutely. And just put on a happy face and just...
And then later, like, I wasn't true to myself. My needs didn't get met, and now I'm resentful because I didn't communicate. Because once again, we were told we're not supposed to push too much. We might say it once, and if it's not seen, then we'll let it go.
Let it go.
But that is actually not what men do. Men are taught the opposite, to keep pushing and plowing until they get what they want. And they go, and so it's great though that you sat with that. You understood. Yeah. Okay, this is why I'm upset. This is what I've done to not get what I needed. So I'm going to next time do differently. But it's still really hard.
And the next step's going to be even harder because in our brain. Now I have to talk to my husband about it. Absolutely. Something that he's not used to doing, and saying, no, this is important to me. It's hard so many levels. Like, people that get in this community, we need to shut this down because I'll flip you guys around a little bit. We are in her beautiful boutique. Yeah. Adorable. The door's closed, so she can't even open yet.
Opening soon for the day.
So I am going to go shopping. And I am so grateful that you did this with me. This has been so fun.
It's been so much fun. And I just feel so honored. Thank you. And I still can't believe, that's actually one thing. What I love about my business, the people that walk through my door every day, the variety of people from all walks of life, people you meet, like I met you all those years ago, and here we are, who would have guessed, right? And we've just kept in touch, we had a connection, and that's something I love. And in fact, I remember the moment when I had the opportunity to open the business, I was working for someone else, it was a great job, I'm wrong, I enjoyed it, but I just felt like I needed more. And this is again where the universe was like, here. And this is a place where I'm at, it's impossible to find real estate. And a friend of mine, an artist friend of mine, she said, can't do this anymore. I'm going to give up the space, talk to the owner. And I did. And the owner was honest and said, if you can pay the rent, then it's yours. And that's where it all started. And from there, that passion in me grew. And then I was able to use my artistic skills and I loved it. And then from that, not only is it the artistic stuff, but it's the people every day. And that's where I was going with that. Like, I needed this to decide to stay in Italy. Because I remember that moment in my life, I said to my husband at the time, either I have to move and find something else for myself I need more, or something has to shift here. And this shifted. And I knew then that was meant to be. And I thought it would just be a business, a job, using my skill, using my passion, creating dresses, creating jewelry, creating bags, shoes, designing. And it is, but even more are the people. The people. Every day, I love the people, the variety of people. Don't get me wrong, there's also some other ones that are interesting. But overall, it's retail, right?
We get them anywhere.
I love it. And I've met so many great friends that I've kept in touch with my walks of life, just like yourself. So thank you for this. Thank you for coming back.
I hope this message, I know that it will. I have very specific women in my mind, in my heart, when we were having this conversation, and you said it all beautifully, because I hope it really resonates with them to know that they are allowed to take the next steps by themselves, but get them in the right direction of doing it for themselves.
Absolutely. And anything that's happened along the way that makes them feel this or feel that, you know, it's all something to help them grow. Like we were talking about the end of my relationship. I don't now regret any of it because it has made me grow. And so you can have bad things, good things happen to you, and it changes you, and just let it change you. Please grow with it and go with it and know that it's for the best. Even if it's hard, it's for the best. Because the great things, as we all say, the cliche thing, right? The great things in life are not easy. And it's true. It is true. So thank you so much for this day and this moment and for coming back.
Oh my gosh.
It's been so great.
So good. All right, ladies. We'll see you next
time.
week. The people next